Number 9. Tisa shipwreck. Built in 1916 and 1917, the Soka Tisa, or Blonde Tisa, was a paddle wheel steamship named after the last Hungarian king Charles IV. It was retired in 1976 after a decades-long career and was repurposed as a disco ship. Talk about an unusual career shift. In 2000, the vessel was sold to new owners and moved to the Tepe harbor near the city of Szeged, where it functioned as a museum and restaurant. Without proper maintenance, the ship fell into disrepair as it fell victim to vandals and thieves who stole some of its parts. It finally sank in 2012. A foundation to save it was formed in 2017, but recovering the vessel was impossible until 2 years later when a drought lowered the water levels. The wreck was brought to the surface in late 2019 after months of preparation. To prevent further damage, the salvage team installed a system around the ship to redirect the surrounding water. They proceeded to build ramps on the shore and pulled the vessel ashore with the help of special balloons that supported the ship's weight and keep it even. It is unclear what the group that saved the Soka Tisa plans to do with it today, but it's fair to say that discovering a legendary steamship that has lived a multitude of unusual lives in the woods is a pretty strange discovery. Number 8. Holy Land Theme Park. During the 1950s, a deeply spiritual lawyer named John Baptist Greco gathered a group of people to help him create a religious attraction representing Biblica-era Bethlehem and Jerusalem. He envisioned a peaceful place where anyone was welcome regardless of race, creed, or any of the other factors that tend to divide people. The end result was a theme park in Waterbury, Connecticut called Holy Land USA. It originally consisted of a recreation of the Garden of Eden along with various depictions of biblical scenes and events from Jesus' life. Holy Land USA peaked during the 1960s and 70s, receiving an estimated 40,000 visitors annually. Greco closed the park in 1984 with plans to improve and expand it, but the work was unfinished when he passed away 2 years later. With nobody to maintain the site, it quickly deteriorated and fell victim to vandals. The decaying structures became a safety concern as overgrowth took over the property. Despite being closed to the public, Holy Land USA continued to attract visitors, namely off-the-beaten-path explorers and worshippers who attended a weekly prayer service there. Numerous attempts at restoring the property failed amid ongoing controversy over what to do with it. Finally, in 2013, local Mayor Neil O'Leary and a car salesman named Fritz Blasius bought the lot and began a community effort to revive the park. The site was cleaned up, and the old cross that once stood there was replaced with a larger cross that stands illuminated over the surrounding trees. Would you be interested in checking out Holy Land USA after a full refurbishment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 7. An out-of-place anaconda. Police in Westbrook, Maine were shocked in 2016 when they spotted a huge, possibly 10-foot-long snake slithering along the banks of the Presumscot River and feasting on a beaver. Word soon got out about the elusive reptile nicknamed Wessie, inspiring a throng of snake spotters to go out and search for the creature. 2 months later, an unusually large snakeskin was found near the river, drawing the attention of national news outlets. The skin measured over 12 feet long and was 4 inches in diameter at its widest point. These dimensions verified that there was a very big snake lurking in the area. It was later determined that the skin belonged to a green anaconda, a tropical snake native to South America and one of the world's largest species. Wessie's presence in the Maine wilderness was not only unusual, it was unheard of. It's likely that the snake was an exotic pet whose owner became overwhelmed with its size and could no longer take care of it. Because owning an anaconda is illegal in Maine, the owner probably dumped the creature off in the woods instead of finding an appropriate place to take it. Experts told the local papers that as a cold-blooded reptile that can only survive in warm weather climates, Wessie probably didn't survive in the forest past October. Nobody reported finding the creature's corpse, but it also hasn't been seen alive since shortly after the first sighting. Number 6. Fleeing fugitive's bunker. 44-year-old Jeremiah Button was just 2 weeks away from facing trial in Portage County, Wisconsin for serious assault allegations when he vanished in 2016. Authorities were unable to track him down. 3 years later, in 2019, a hunter stumbled upon a cleverly concealed bunker in the forest on state land near the town of Ringgold. It was carved into an embankment and covered in thick underbrush, making it almost impossible to notice. The hunter kept quiet about the hidden home, but couldn't shake his curiosity about who was living there and why, so he returned several months later to find out. He entered and found a man lying in his bed. Police were called to the scene and apprehended Button after a short standoff. The suspect soon admitted he was wanted on numerous warrants. Inside the well-stocked bunker, officers found plenty of food, a radio, a television, fans, and many other things that made for an unusually comfortable life in the woods. Button had even installed solar panels which powered 3 car batteries inside the bunker that the fugitive used for running his electrical devices. He told investigators that it took from the time he was let out on bond until the time he disappeared to build the bunker, meaning he worked on it for a year and a half before moving in. After that, he continued to expand it. Marathon County Detective Lieutenant Jeff Stefanoke told the local news station that Button went his entire time in hiding with no human contact, minus occasional brief interactions with hikers he crossed paths with. In his own words, Stefanoke said, "Given the chance, I think the majority of the U.S. population would choose prison over this type of isolation from human contact." Button was finally tried for his crime and received 30 years in prison. During his hearing, he claimed that he built his bunker with plans to go there and die because of how guilty he felt. He'll be 74 when he's released from prison. Number 5. A hidden rainforest. While perusing Google Earth in 2012, Welsh ecologist and conservation scientist Dr. Julian Bayliss spotted what looked like an untouched rainforest inside the cratered peak of a 410-foot-tall mountain in northern Mozambique. 5 years later, he confirmed the isolated forest's existence with the help of a drone. It's difficult enough to reach the base of the mountain known as Mount Lico, which is surrounded by challenging terrain, thick vegetation, and rivers that are difficult to cross. So accessing the elevated rainforest seemed impossible to Bayliss. But he nevertheless led a 28-member team on a quest to see it firsthand. The researchers successfully scaled Mount Lico with the help from 2 of the world's top climbers. They found themselves in a world virtually untouched and unseen by humans, with its own unique ecosystem consisting of some birds and plenty of spiders, rodents, and butterflies. Locals told the team that the only other people who have ventured to the site were some Germans during World War I. Rumor has it that the men died. If this is true, their remains are probably decomposed past the point of recognition by now. There are also stories of a tribe of small-statured people called the Abatwa, who supposedly lived atop Mount Lico, but so far there's no evidence of this being true. By studying the plant and animal life at the undisturbed site, the team hopes to learn more about how climate change and human activity have affected once pristine parts of the Earth and how best to preserve the few remaining undamaged parts of the planet. What kinds of undiscovered life do you think could be hidden in a place that has remained so untouched by humans? Leave your theories in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe. Number 4. CIA Spy Camera. In 1962, a man named David McPherson discovered a refrigerator-sized white box attached to a parachute in the forest outside the city of Moncton in New Brunswick, Canada. The 400-pound object was equipped with large lenses, leading McPherson and his family to suspect that it was an American spy camera that had been dropped at the site. They captured a few photos of the object before they caught members of the Canadian military trying to steal it. The McPhersons fought to keep the box until the military agreed to try getting some real answers for them about what it was. But the government failed to keep its promise to the family despite the numerous official requests they filed for information over the following years. James Rogers, who was 19 years old when he helped McPherson carry the box out of the woods, said that he knew there was more to the story than officials were saying. He also doubted the local media's identification of the object as a weather balloon, pointing out that the authorities wouldn't have been so secretive if that was all it was. The mystery was finally solved 55 years later in 2017 when CBC News ran a special on the story, prompting viewers to conduct their own searches for answers. Based on pictures and information in declassified CIA documents, the object was identified as an AN-DMQ-1 gondola. These top-secret surveillance devices were used as part of Project Genetrix, a top-secret U.S. Air Force program that sought to keep an eye on Communist China, Eastern Europe, and the Soviet Union. The contraption found in New Brunswick was likely launched from Colorado during a system test. McPherson's son, David Jr., told CBC News that he wished his father had lived to find out the truth, which confirmed that his suspicions were correct all along. Number 3. Missing Persons Shrine. James Rankin was hiking in Berkeley-Jackson County Park in Huntington, Long Island back in 2016 when he spotted over a dozen missing persons posters hung throughout a small group of trees and a cage-like contraption made from small tree branches. The alarmed hiker reported the disturbing discovery to the Suffolk County Police Department. Investigators determined that the posters were displayed on a private property in preparation for the landowner's Halloween party. The famous fact-checking website Snopes also looked into the matter and concluded that there was no legitimate cause for concern over the alleged shrine to the missing. But there appeared to be one major discrepancy with the explanation that the posters were bizarrely used as festive decorations. When Rankin stumbled upon the site, it allegedly appeared as though the posters had been there for several weeks. If that was the case, then it means that someone put them there at the beginning of October, and it wouldn't make sense to decorate for a party that far in advance. The case became even more confusing when police reportedly told the Huntingtonian that the whole ordeal was a hoax. Friends and family members of the missing people whose posters were displayed were understandably angry at whoever was responsible for using their real-life losses as a form of entertainment. What do you think was actually behind this unusual supposed party decor? Number 2. A humpback whale. In early 2019, fishermen on the Brazilian island of Marajó discovered the carcass of a 26-foot-long whale calf. Yes, a whale in the middle of a mangrove forest. The unfortunate creature probably perished from starvation or some other cause after being separated from its mother and lost at sea, according to the non-profit research group Bicho d'Água. Experts also suggested that the calf could have been hit by a boat or gotten caught in a fishing net. But how exactly did it end up on dry land surrounded by trees? Oceanographer Maura Sousa explained that during that time of year the tide rises twice daily by 13 feet and temporarily floods the mangrove forest. The water must have washed the young whale's body ashore at nearby Arona Beach and then carried the remains 50 feet inland to where the creature was found. Sousa further added that the whale was probably dead for 4 to 5 days before it ended up in the woods. She pointed out that while humpback whales are common in the South Atlantic, this one appeared at an unusual time of year, and it may have even come from the North Atlantic. Researchers announced plans to perform a necropsy and a DNA test in hopes of learning more about the whale and where it came from. Number 1. Welch Spring Hospital. Missouri's Ozark Mountains region is a popular vacation and camping spot famous for its lakes, natural springs, forests, and breathtaking views. These scenic and refreshing qualities are precisely what attracted a doctor named C.H. Deal to the area in 1913 when he bought Welch Springs for just $800. He was sold on the property after visiting and feeling immense relief from his chronic hay fever. Believing that the spring and the pollen-free air coming from a nearby cave had natural healing properties, he built a hospital at the site for sufferers of asthma, emphysema, tuberculosis, and other respiratory ailments. To help fund the treatment of his patients, Dr. Deal built a nearby campground and some cabins in hopes of raking in some tourism revenue. The remote site attracted some visitors, but it was difficult to reach and many people simply couldn't afford to travel. Consequently, both the hospital and the resort failed to see the success that Deal had envisioned. He passed away in 1940, and his surviving family members had no interest in the upkeep of the property, so they let the hospital fall into ruin. It still stands at the site today, which arguably attracts more tourists now than it did when Deal's resort was open for business. Visitors are not allowed to enter the hospital, and they are discouraged from wading in the spring due to the risk of metal debris from the building making its way into the water. Any strange forest discoveries we missed? Let us know in the comments below. That's all for today, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time for another amazing video right here on American Eye.